coming up on another solo show adventure.
It's good. I kind of feel the same. I'd almost say it's perfect. So
yeah, Francine?
I'm gonna say it is. I would go 5. Because I'm sitting here thinking, but I'm not as emotionally invested in the originals, right? So I'm thinking, what more could I have asked for?
Stan has a full house sitting in guest host chairs as they talk about Muppets Mayhem, streaming now on Disney+. Then yes, spoiler alert. The Solo Show, as always, is brought to you by Victor Naraki Realtor, serving Disney and the greater Orlando area with celebratingflorida.com and disneyatyourdoorstep.com. Realtor Victor Naraki makes living near Walt Disney World a reality, specializing in all the communities surrounding Disney. Whether you're looking to relocate or invest in a new property, maybe you want a vacation home for your retirement. With over a decade of experience in the area, Victor will adapt to your needs, help you find the right property, or get you the best price for your property. Reach out to him today on his website, celebratingflorida.com, or at disneyatyourdoorstep.com. Follow him at Victor Naraki Realtor on Facebook, and don't forget to tell him that the Solo Show sent you. WMUP Muppet Radio. Broadcasting now with the new sounds on the stacks of wax from the Solo Studios, this is The Solo Show, featuring Stan Solo on lead vocals and electric zither, with Justin Clark on bass and Carrie LeBlanc and Francine Cochrane from the Pixie Dust Fans Podcast on backing vocals. With their latest hit, I'll Review You for 5 episodes if you break my heart. Now please welcome your host, the guy who taught Animal how to run a floor polisher. Here's Stan Solo.
Well, all right. That was a horrible Dr. Keith. Anyways, hello and welcome to another edition of the Solo Show. I am Stan Solo as always, and we are doing Muppets Mayhem, episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 review. We're not doing 6 and 10 because a couple of us haven't watched it yet, but that was the plan. We weren't going to watch it. Anyways, joining me today are returning guests, Carrie and Francine from the Pixie Dust Fan Podcast. How are you today? And what are your thoughts on the Muppets Mayhem? Francine, you go first.
We're so excited. Thank you for having us back on the show. It's fun to be back. What do we think? So for me, I know you said we were doing 1 to 5, but I couldn't stop watching.
Oh, so you like them then?
I did. And I'm not a Muppet person, but I think I'm becoming one, I think.
You are.
Yes. Yeah, I think Carrie and I are ganging up on you, and we're slowly transitioning you to a Muppet.
Well,
and how about you, Carrie? Carrie, you obviously liked it. You're a big Muppet fan.
I loved it. And I think my first reaction after the first couple episodes, or not even, didn't take that long, was that it just felt right. And as a Muppet fan, you'd understand. It just felt right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Can you guys tell me a little bit about the Pixie Dust Fan Podcast in case they didn't tune in? Why wouldn't they when you were on the last time?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, for the most part, it's Carrie and I just talking Disney and anything fun. We just try to keep it positive, and trip reviews, Muppet reviews, news, anything.
Yeah. Check them out. They're available everywhere you listen to the Solo Show. The Pixie Dust Fan Podcast. I'm now subscribed. I'm now hooked. I'm listening to every episode every week. And also joining us today from the Grand Circle Tour Podcast, my favorite co-host, Mission Commander Justin. How are you today, friend? And what are your thoughts on Muppets Mayhem?
Well, I am fantastic as always, and I have to agree with Carrie that right away from the first episode of this, the tone feels right. It felt like a Muppet show. And I've talked with Stan about this a couple of times previously, but for me, it's like the whole thing is like this sort of barely contained chaos. That's what the original Muppet Show was, and that's what this feels like. And that really works for the Muppets as a whole. And so all throughout these first 5 episodes, you really get that sense, that feel of it, that style, that tone of the Muppets themselves being in the human world, kind of being a little off kilter, a little crazy, a little chaotic, and the humans kind of trying to, or whoever, trying to kind of rein them in just enough to put on a show, or in this case, make an album. And it really works. It finally works for the show, for the Muppets, and I'm so glad to see it.
Yeah, we're gonna get into spoilers after a quick break. So I know we're all wanting to talk about spoilers and whatnot. Before we get to that, just a little bit about Grand Circle Tour Podcast.
So Grand Circle Tour Podcast, we've been going for, what is it, like 5-6 years now? I lose track. We talk about like the Disney parks, all of the Disney parks, but mostly the American ones. We talk about all of the different shows and all of the different Disney topics that we can sink our teeth into. It's a very conversational sort of show where we talk about, like, say, our favorite attractions or our favorite Star Wars series on Disney Plus or whatever it is that we're talking about that day. So we have a lot of fun, and I think our listeners do as well.
Yeah. What I like about Grand Circle Tour is, well, other than being on it, one of the co-hosts, is that there's 7 of us and we rotate off. So you're not going to get the same co-host every week. No offense, Carrie and Francine.
I'm sure our listeners wish we would.
Yeah. So you're not sure who you're going to get each week. It's like a hodgepodge of it, and it's 3 of us on each week, not all 7 of us. Thank goodness, because that'd be insanity. And we just kind of.
It's like a box of chocolates. You're not sure what you're gonna get.
It's actually kind of like the Muppets. It's sort of controlled mayhem over there at the Grand Tour.
Barely controlled chaos. I think that describes it very well. I've often referred to myself as the scooter of the group, where I'm just trying to kind of rein in some of it.
So I reached out to Carrie and to Francine and Justin before overseeing Muppets Mayhem, and just kind of like hoping it was going to be really good, because I hate to put out a show of let's do a review of a show I really dislike, but luckily I really enjoyed it as well. I'm giving this, I would give it like 4.9 stars out of 5. It would be 5 stars if it was an old theater and they just had a different guest each week. It would have been 5 stars, but for me it was 4.9 stars. Justin, how many stars are you giving this one?
Oh, I didn't realize we were doing a star rating system, and I hate those. So
I know you hate those.
So far, we're only 5 episodes in to the 10, but so far, I mean, it has been really great. I'll give it at least a 4.5.
Okay, fair enough. Carrie?
I think I'd probably agree with you. It'd be pretty high. Like, you're right. The only thing that's missing is that they could have just redid the Muppet Show, but it's good. I kind of feel the same. I'd almost say it's perfect. So
yeah, Francine?
I'm gonna say it is. I would go 5. Because I'm sitting here thinking but I'm not as emotionally invested in the originals, right? So I'm thinking, what more could I have asked for? I laughed. I belly laughed. What more could I have asked them to do? It was great. Yeah, 5 stars.
No, absolutely, for sure. We're gonna take a.
You have to say
for sure. Well, all right, that was a little bit better. We're gonna take a break. If you're listening, we're gonna have a code for the movie Insiders right at the end of the show. After the break, we're going to go into spoilers. So if you fast forward to the end if you want the code, but you don't want to be spoiled, does that make sense? I don't know.
I got it. I understood.
Listen to the whole show and get the code at the end. How about that? That works best. Alrighty, so there's a new show coming up from Disney Minus, and we got the exclusive review or the exclusive audio trailer. So check this out. Coming soon from Disney Minus.
Coming soon to Disney Minus. He is the most known chef on the planet. Now he continues his culinary adventures on Muppets Master Chef. And for tonight's secret ingredient... Wait, what did he say? Some of the best amateur chefs in the world come together in this amazing competition.
Does that mean he's going to eat us or feed us?
Muppets Master Chef, coming this fall to Disney Minus.
The flame is okie dokie.
All right, Muppets Master Chef coming to Disney Minus.
awesome.
Carrie's excited. Fran's laughing already. So here we go. Okay, we're going right into spoilers now. So I don't want to go episode by episode. I figure we'll just have like a general chat about the entire first 5 episodes or tracks. They're not episodes. You notice that?
No,
They're
I
tracks.
didn't.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
Smart.
I did
Yeah,
notice
yeah.
that. Disney Plus lists them as track 1, track 2, and
smart.
they are songs from them. So like track 1 is "Can You Picture That?"
Hmm.
That's true.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we start off with them, and right off the hop, I'm going, because I'm not a big fan of the full body Muppets.
That's what I said.
Francine, yes.
So when Penny Waxman turns around in her chair and you see that full body Muppet, and I was like, ah!
Well, not
You're
so much
talking
that,
about
but when
them
the
standing
band
on the
is playing-
stage.
I'm talking
That's how it
about
opens.
on the stage. That kind of
Yeah.
threw me. Did it throw you too, Stan? I don't like it when I
Well-
see all their legs.
Well, Fran had asked, she didn't think that they had legs in the first place. So I had to explain to her about how they do have legs, and they've shown their legs many times.
But
Yeah, they show their legs, but you don't often see them standing on them or walking on them. I mean, like
Dancing.
famous scene from the Muppet movies, Kermit riding the bicycle with
Mhm.
Miss Piggy riding the bicycle, and you see their full body, their full legs. But somehow them standing on stage and tapping to the beat,
Weird.
it looks. I'm not sure if it looks CGI or green screen or weird or what, but it does not look. And right off top, I'm like, oh man, they're trying something they shouldn't be trying. But we never saw it again after that in the first 5 tracks.
yeah, I
Well,
was
and the
happy
thing-
that was the first, like, that was sort of that was the only time I really felt sort of, I don't even know how to say it, uncomfortable that they didn't look real to, like, not that they didn't look real, but you know what I mean. Anyway, sorry, go on.
Yeah.
It is oddly enough almost an uncanny valley for a Muppet.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah,
felt the
yeah.
same when I first saw it, but I was kind of afraid of what the heck they were going to do. I saw the trailer and I thought it was funny, but I was really skeptical with what they were like. How are they making a story about these guys? Like, what do we know about them? Like, generally,
You know,
right? We know Janice says 1 or 2 words. Dr. Teeth says what he says. Zoot and Floyd, like, they do what they do, but we don't really know them. And I was worried, and I didn't know what to expect, and I couldn't even imagine what to expect. So when I felt sort of the same way when I first saw that, because it looked different, it looked green screened, it looked funny. I didn't think, oh my goodness, they have legs like Fran did, but it did seem funny, and I was like, oh, we're like, is this what it's going to be? But they
It is a good point, because these are characters that, I mean, they have always been there. They've always been back in the background as part of the group, going all the way back to the Muppet Show itself. But we haven't really followed them. They haven't been followed as main characters. We've always been talking about Kermit and Piggy and Fozzie and Gonzo, and you have like those main characters, and these guys have been there, but we know a little bit of their character traits, but we don't really know a lot of their backstory. And so it was a little, why are they even doing this? Because it's like, these are not the characters we usually follow.
and having that fear, and then seeing what they've done the last couple of times.
They have done very well with this. I think think they've done a lot to kind of flesh out the characters. And I've really enjoyed so much of the story so far.
Yeah. No, I kind of agree with you, but kind of like we're all very familiar with Dr. Teeth, and we're all very familiar with Animal, probably even more so than Dr. Teeth.
And
and
Animal
Janice too.
though, like, all he does is bang on the drums and scream "woman" when he runs off the stage. Like, do we
Well,
really?
yeah, but we're all
really
familiar
know
with him.
Animal?
You could-
Do we really know him?
Yeah.
Woman.
Yeah, and then Janice is kind of a little bit lesser known, and then Zoot probably a little bit lesser known. But then when you bring in
Oh
Lips,
my goodness.
I got to be honest, I was familiar with Lips, I was familiar with the Muppet, and I was getting ready to sit down and watch this, and I was kind of looking at the picture, and I'm thinking to myself, who's the yellow one again? And I'm thinking, he plays a trumpet, but does he have a name? And then once they said it, I went, oh yeah, that's Lips, I remembered. But I knew next, I think this is the first time he's ever spoken. Well, if you want to call it speaking.
I don't know if he spoke like that.
Even Animal, I mean, we saw him, like, for example, in the Muppets, in the more recent Muppets movie and such, where he was doing things like, having anger management classes and such. And it's like,
I forgot about that.
and I'm kind of glad they seem to have kind of thrown that out, because that never really fit his character as well. And so it feels like he's back to his old self, and he's back to the character of Animal that we all know and love.
Now, one thing I did notice, though, is he's still wearing the chain, but we don't see Floyd pulling him on the chain like he once did. Floyd used to always almost hold the chain with him when they were going anywhere. They seem to have gotten away with that. I'm not sure if that's a politically correct thing for them to do or what it was. Just an observation. I don't want to, Carrie, you mentioned about why did they choose these characters? Like, why are we like instead of Gonzo and Miss Piggy and Fozzie and all that? And now there's been a lot of backlash about Kermit's voice.
Mm-hmm.
And now you guys did watch tracks 6 to 10. I don't know if Kermit shows up or not, but I'm kind of hoping that they do keep it. And I am kind of surprised we didn't see any Muppets come in the first 5 tracks.
Yeah, they kept it pretty pure to
the mayhem,
which was fantastic.
Yeah,
and they feel authentic. They feel authentic to who they were in the series. Except I agree with you with Lips. I had to text Carrie. I didn't know. I was like, "Who's this guy?
Who's this guy?" Oh, yeah. The one thing, sorry, go ahead.
And Lips ended up being one of my favorite characters of the band by the end of the first 5.
Well, Fran and I, we talked about this on our podcast this week. We did a little bit of Muppets, and we talked like the one thing that I had said to her was that with the rest of the episodes, not spoiling, like you get to know all of these characters like we've never ever known them, and I can't even pick a favorite. Like I can't even I never really cared too much about them before. Like I liked them because they were Muppets and they were the Electric Mayhem and they were cool, but that's about it. And I'm at the point right now where I couldn't even pick a favorite. Like that's what these 10 episodes have done. Like I can't choose. Like Lips is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But I can't choose.
I would say that for me, the Electric Mayhem as a band, as a group, was kind of the character. That was the character.
Yes.
It's like the individual, and now we're seeing the individual characters in a lot more detail. So it's like that's the difference for me. The whole band was kind of the character for me before.
That's a good way to put it. That's exactly that's a good.
So Carrie, sorry, did you have a favorite character going into this?
I think Justin just summarized that perfectly. Like they were a character in itself, and they showed up in the movies, and they did their Muppet Mayhem thing that they were supposed to do every time they showed up in a movie or a show, and that was it. And I love Animal. I love them all. Like I can't choose. It's weird. It's the weirdest thing. I have to get some more stuffies. They better be making a lip stuffy or something soon.
I don't know, Baby Animal.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Okay, Baby Animal. Thank you. So we kind of only did get to see 2 other Muppets other than the core characters, and that would be Penny and owns Waxtown Records, and then Baby Animal. Let's talk a little bit about Penny, voiced by, was it Leslie Carla Rudolph?
I love her.
Where do we like? I had to look her up because I was not familiar with the name at all.
Oh, I don't know who she was. Like the voice, when I first saw the Muppet, I was a bit overwhelmed. Like she was big and she was, I don't know, just weird. But I think it was probably halfway through her first episode, I was like, I loved her.
That's the thing with the Muppets is like, no matter how weird they look, no matter how out of place they look when you first see them, the performers are so great because they inhabit that space. They inhabit that character to the point that after a little bit of time, you're like, yeah, that's just that character and that's how they are and that's how they look. And
I was emotionally invested in her.
Is Penny, has she been a Muppet before, like in other Muppet things? Or is she new?
It's the first time I've ever seen her. It's the first time I'm familiar with her. Now, the puppeteer that controls Penny, Leslie Rudolph, is actually, she's, as far as I could tell, this is her first time working with the Muppets. But she was a puppeteer with Sesame Street. She plays Abby Cadabra.
Oh, interesting.
On Sesame Street, it's the same puppeteer that's controlling Leslie, controlling Penny. That's Abby.
Oh, I like.
Bit of a different character.
I think for me, for new Muppet characters, like when my first reaction when I see something that's totally different like that, like I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. But like Fran said, it didn't take long. Same with Walter. I didn't like the idea of Walter coming to town, and he's one of my favorites now. But when she first swung the chair around and we saw her, and I was like, I don't know, it's different. It's a different Muppet. I don't know if I'm gonna like it or not. But yeah, once she started talking about her compression socks and loving to be in a squeeze, then
I was just going to mention that. So that was one of the things that I really liked was how the band was kind of very worldly.
Yes.
Like Dr. Of course he knows Penny. He used to date her. He knows that she likes compressed socks more than anything else.
I know. That was one of my favorite lines, I think. And now I can't even remember what it was when he said something about she likes to be squeezed and he said, I'll buy her some compression socks. Oh my gosh. I almost fell off the couch.
I think Animal says like orange juice. Or like oranges. Like orange juice?
But yeah, because Nora's like, dude, buy her something nice, like some flowers or chocolate. It's like compression socks. She likes to be squeezed.
Like oranges.
yeah.
And then later she's funny. Like, oh, he remembered that I like the compression socks.
And then, yep. It's good.
And let's talk about that writing for a little bit. So we had who was the people that worked on this? Goldberg, Adam F. Goldberg, Bill Barrera, and then another one, Jeff Yorkers.
Yorks.
I had to look him up. I mean, Bill Barrera we're familiar with. He's been with the Muppets since day one, pretty much. And then Adam F. Goldberg, he's a huge pop culture fan. He's basically one of us, as far as I can tell. I don't know him, but everything I've seen of him, he's one of us. And he's done. I think he was involved in the Haunted Mansion as well. Goldberg.
Okay.
Is he the He's the Once Upon a Time writer, right? Did he write that? The series? We don't know.
Could be. I'm most familiar with him from the Goldbergs.
Yeah, I don't know.
ABC.
I didn't watch that show, but I'm just wondering what other Disney stuff he did. If he just
But this Jeff Yolkers comes out of nowhere. Like he has zero Muppet history or anything like that, and I'm curious to know how much he was involved in this, because if he was, keep these three together is what I'm saying.
Yeah, they found magic.
Yeah,
they did.
They found magic. They did.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I thought they brought together sort of old and new stuff. Like you didn't have to be so invested in historical Muppets to get the jokes, but you also like there were references for people who are like total Muppet fans. Like I thought they did a really good balance of the two.
That's always a fine line for some of these shows to walk along. And yeah, I agree with you that they did a good job on this one.
Mm-hmm. Big time.
So then we got Nora Singh and Moog, and JJ, which is kind of a bit more minor, but Nora Singh and Moog are two new human characters in this series, and I guess Nora's sister as well would be kind of more of a major character. Brilliant job on choosing the actors and the way they played off of the Muppets and all that. Anything to say about them?
Well, and the way they played off of each other as well, I think works really well. So you have Moog being kind of like the uber fan, which is a great character to have within this setting, and then you've got Nora, who's like basically trying to be the Kermit of the group. She's trying to like rein in all this chaos. She's trying to figure out how to rein in all this chaos, but at the same time, she loves the music and she loves the characters, and so it's like she is very much like she's kind of the Kermit.
Yeah, that is a great. I never even thought of that, but yeah, you're 100% correct. She's kind of the Kermit of the group now.
Yeah, getting frustrated with them,
but at the same time, loving them and wanting them to succeed, but just frustrated at their inability to get it all together the way she wants it to be.
Yeah, I like it with the first time that she meets the band and she says, "I'm here to talk about your album." And Dr. Teeth goes, "That was the greatest achievement of my life." Was making the album.
It doesn't exist.
He never made one.
Well, then it's the greatest disappointment of my life.
That's the part of the like the writing that they did on this.
It's exactly the way it should be. Like
yeah, it's exactly the same. The right tone of jokes and writing and such all the way through.
And the characters reply they react the way they're supposed to. Like even though they're the journey they go on after this episode and the things they come across, like it still reigns back to be like them, and they still are their characters, which is what I thought, because what they've done, the last one where they were doing an online Muppet show, where Scooter was typing up and throwing all the shows and whatever in, it just didn't seem to, that's not the Muppets. They're old and old school, and they got to be who they are and not try to be something different. So I think they did this with these episodes for sure. Did you guys know Lily Singh, the actress that plays Nora is Canadian.
I did not know that.
She's from Scarborough. So yeah, she's a
Ooh,
YouTube
okay.
star, and she's
wow.
and she got that role. So I really liked watching her, especially because I followed her for years and years and years, and then seeing her, get this role is awesome. And she's a great.
Get her on your
Yeah,
podcast.
maybe we should.
We should. Like I live in
videos.
Scarborough. I could call her up.
Yeah, maybe message her press people to see if she wants to come on our podcast.
I'll just message.
Go walk
her
down the street, knock on her door. I mean, it's like how big is the town really?
I was proud as a Canadian to see her do such a good job. And the like after watching her for so long, like she is that person. Like it really didn't seem too far of a stretch for her to play that role because or maybe they made the role a little bit more like her. But she did a great job and kind of made me happy to see her. So yeah, I don't know the other actors before, but I just knew of her. So
in terms of the acting, I will say I think she did a great job, and so does the guy who plays Moog. They inhabit those roles very, very well. They play them perfectly. Mm-hmm. But her in particular, she has that, again, that right level of being frustrated, but still like wanting the best for the people around her and just trying so hard to make everything right. And I love that character, and I love the way that she's playing it.
Yeah. Justin and I often on the Grand Circle Tour podcast, every once in a while, we'll talk about who's what Muppet are you? And I never really came up with it for myself.
You're the Kermit of the group. I've told you this before.
Yeah, I guess I am kind of the Kermit. But you know what? I'm beginning to think I might be the Zoot of the group. Because Zoot cannot get Moog's name right ever. That's one of my traits is getting people's names wrong.
I love that Dr. Teeth gets his name right immediately.
Yeah.
He calls him Moog right away. No one else gets his name right the rest of the show.
Well, I think everyone does except for, Animal doesn't say him by name and never ever does.
I love Zoot.
Yeah, Dr. Teeth right away calls him Moog, and then the rest of the time he doesn't refer to him by name, but everyone else does, and they call him the wrong name. Every single time.
So the main storyline of this is that she has to get an album made to save Tower
Wax
Street
Waxtown.
Yeah. So she wants to get this album made. So that's kind of the main story. But there's like little sub stories throughout the whole first 5 tracks. One of them being Janice getting sick from all the lies. Out of the sub stories, this was hard for me to swallow.
Well,
Janice was always been. I can see your aura, and I can. But if she could see the aura so well, she should have saw her aura right away that she was lying. That there should have been a black aura, a red aura around her. But anyways, what are your thoughts on the Janice getting sick storyline?
I was going to say right up front. I mean, all throughout this, they're kind of been treating the Muppets almost as like magical beings, and so that's kind of where Janice's story kind of fits in here as well. It's like she's almost this magical being who's somehow allergic to lying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they don't age.
So it's like I don't know. Are they demigods? What are they really? I mean,
so Carrie, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's kind of funny and it kind of fits considering these are people that have toured for 50 years and have never made a record and an Animal. I didn't think too much of it as being awkward. I think it's definitely a good part of the story as the story goes on. So I don't know. I didn't think anything different of it. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, it seemed like they have these weird sub stories that kind of happened. Another one was Animal leaving because he got his feelings hurt and became a sous chef. He
tried being a phone operator. He tried being a cleaner. He tried being a.
I kind of loved Animal trying to get a different job. I kind of loved that. I didn't love the whole thing with Janice. Just I don't know. It felt like almost too magical. But it does also kind of fit her character. So it was a little bit half and half for me.
She's very Phoebe Buffay. Like Phoebe Buffay would be from Friends would have been allergic to lies and tried to pull off the same thing.
Yeah, I liked it.
Well, she has in the past pointed out that she could see people's auras. And you can tell if somebody is down or if they're so you think lying would be something an aura that she'd be able to see around somebody.
I thought it was a good.
I think auras are supposed to be more about like your general state of being. So it's like if Nora's like, still happy about telling the lie, her aura would still look like happiness and friendliness, but the lies would be different.
Yeah. Okay. I'll
there you go. There's some headcanon for you. I'm good at this.
I do love the part about I don't believe in being confined by beds.
Oh my gosh.
Free range sleeping, man.
And a good Muppet story. Like they arrive to this place to live, and in a blink of an eye they're throwing a party. In a blink of an eye she's redecorated the living room to have a bajillion pillows. In a blink of an eye there's celebrities there crashing the party, because that's just how Muppet things work. And that's what I mean about it being perfect. Like those types of things that happen are just exactly the way it rolls in a Muppet.
They're almost cartoon characters, especially like when Dr. Teeth is in the hot tub and she's going, "Where do these martinis get?"
Yeah. Where are these coming from?
Where did you get the Mai Tai from? Yeah, I got one for you too. Where did that come from?
But can you get me a bathing suit?
Get up here.
It's a good one. I like them. I really like like to think of what my favorite parts of the first 5 were. I really like that the whole animal getting another job, like that little excerpt there where the guy's interviewing him and he keeps saying yeah, and then the guy goes, "So am I the most handsome person you've ever whatever?" And he's like, no. And then they just keep going and really seeing that he's more than just a screaming person, right? Like he wants to get a job, he's trying other things, his feelings were hurt, and in the end he learns how to be a chef.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about being a drummer in a rock and roll band? He loses it.
No. PTSD. Yeah, he's got stress. Post-traumatic stress disorder on that one.
It was a good show for giggles.
Speaking of that, the whole idea that Floyd has been taking care of him since he was a baby was kind of a nice addition to the backstory of those two. I mean, I really liked seeing some of that filling in of those backstories. I enjoyed
their origin story.
Yeah.
Animal's origin story. Who would have thought we would have found that out?
It's so
Janice has a twin sister that she doesn't know where she is now.
I couldn't remember if that was in the first 5 or not. Exactly. Janice has, just like Phoebe Buffay.
Yeah. And what's great about the Muppets is that they don't steer away from canon. Like we've always known that Floyd is taking care of Animal. We never knew for how long. As far as I knew, this is the first time we found out that he's been taking care of Animal since he was take Muppet's Baby out of
That's the thing. You got that breaks that. But still, this is probably a better story.
Muppet Babies aren't part of it. But the Muppets, we've always been told that Floyd has always taken care of Animal. We never knew for how long or how
it came to be.
Was it his brother?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny that Animal's the only Muppet that ever aged. Like Floyd looks exactly the same as when he first met Animal, who was a baby.
Baby Muppet, baby Animal is adorable.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be a stuffy.
Basically, just a head and a couple of feet, like the whole body. Another sub story that happened was Hannah and Nora having an argument and kind of splitting their separate ways, and then Janice had to mend things. I think that these little sub stories that they did really added to the story, as opposed to just having the entire show being about trying to make this album. There was kind of sub stories that happened each track and a half.
Episode or track.
Well, and even that one, then again, we kind of get a little bit more insight into Janice as a person, and this acknowledgement that she helps people because she's been avoiding her own problems. And how human is that? I mean,
so true.
Yeah. So even though that this wasn't a Muppet story, they brought Janice into it to make it a Muppet story.
I love Janice.
Brilliant writing.
So good.
Track 5, we got to see the expired marshmallows.
Oh my goodness. That's my tie between my favorite Animal's story of getting a job and then them zoning out over expired marshmallows. But I guess they had to figure a family-friendly way to do this, right?
Yeah, it's like it's basically a drug trip. It's basically, they're on acid, but it's like instead of acid, it's expired marshmallows, so it's family-friendly. Same effect, but I absolutely loved every bit of it, especially the part at the end when we see Floyd going through the photos and he has photos of all the crazy things that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I noticed that as well. He had a photo of Weird Al, and he had a photo of the criminal, and
of the falcon and of the baby animal, and
that episode
Really
that was
did
amazing. Yeah, that was amazing. Work that in.
So what was interesting? So Floyd doesn't like sugar because it rots your brain, so he didn't have any. Or sorry, Zoot doesn't like sugar because it rots your brain, so he didn't have any. Would it have been funnier if he had no effect?
Yeah.
I don't feel anything different.
Yeah.
Are you normal? I don't know.
I almost think this is funnier because we've always sort of thought of him as being
You're
like
gonna assume,
kind of being like this sort of drug. He's like, no, I don't want to rot my brain. It's kind of
sugar rots
funnier.
your brain, man. I'm not touching that stuff.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting if you think of it that way.
So we talked about Weird Al appearing in that track during the Marshmallow thing. There were some amazing guest stars in these first 5.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, I guess, that came up was Ryan Seacrest.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of
Yeah,
that
I
as a
forgot
guest
about him.
appearance, but it is.
Yeah. I forgot about him, but yeah, I guess he's kind of big.
Yeah, he's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, Brian something or other. I don't know. Yeah.
But it's funny the way that it was in the episode. I didn't think of it as if you said start listing the people in order of a guest appearance, I wouldn't have said it because I thought that's weird. Anyways, carry on.
Because it was like an internet search and it was like a video that just came up. It's like, oh well.
So yeah, I guess he was number one.
He's not like interacting with the group in the same way of say Danny Trejo did.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and then like Tommy Lee and Chris Stapleton, the country singer named Tommy Lee, of course, they were in that same video that they were watching with Ryan Seacrest. And of course, he lifts up his shirt. He goes, "Yeah, the Mayhem tattooed my chest." And I was thinking,
I love that.
And then Lil Nash X. I don't even know who that is.
Fran and I were talking about.
Yeah, he's a little more recent than our era, but I do know who he is.
Yeah, they did a good job of bringing in, like, it was impressive to see because the quote unquote older stars know what a big deal it is to be on the Muppets. Like, it really was a big deal back in the day to be on the Muppets. So for Tommy Lee to understand what that means, he gets it. He's old. He gets it like we do. But for some of these new kids, like, they brought on stars that we don't know because they're so new. Mm-hmm. But they're popular and hopefully will bring in a whole new generation of, like, how cool would it be for these 15, 16-year-old kids to hear that whoever this little guy is this time here shows up on the Muppets, right? Like,
little guy XYZ, whatever his cute little name.
The rapper guy.
This little guy that we want off our lawn. That guy? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But it's cool the way they brought the generations.
Justin, you can help with the name. Danny Trejo.
Danny Trejo. I mean, he's a fantastic person. He's been in so many things, but I mean, he was even in Book of Boba Fett. So I mean, he's everywhere. I love him. I love that he is enough of a geek to get into all of these things. Mm-hmm. And he has this look of like this almost hardened criminal type of guy that you wouldn't think he's into these things, and yet he keeps showing up because he obviously loves this stuff.
Yeah,
he's been on the Muppets before, right?
Yeah, he was on Muppets.
Yeah, I was going to say, he was on the Haunted Mansion. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Zed played himself as the music producer.
We don't know we didn't know who he was. Fran asked me that, and I'm like, I think he's just an actor, but I don't know.
Is he like a real producer?
He's a real music producer. He's from Germany. Oh. That Grammy was his actual Grammy. I looked him up. His value is his net worth is $50 million. This Zed guy.
Oh my god!
Well, that's at least $50 million more than my worth is.
Wow. And he wants to be in the Muppet movies.
I think he's worth more than the four of us combined. Right
now. Well, the Muppets too.
Yeah. Yeah, he was actually playing himself. He's actually a music producer.
That's cool.
Which I thought was kind of cool. And even the logo that they used on the computer screen and on the wall behind him is his logo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that they're using so many of these people. I mean, so many people are coming in just to play themselves. I mean,
Yeah.
I
then, of
recognize
course,
Deadmau5 5, for example, with his
He's
with his
Canadian.
helmet and-
He's also Canadian.
Is he really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, oh, that is so like they had all the little helmets just like him and Animal in the background walking, pacing, and I kind of wished it was almost longer, that section, so that we could have saw a little bit more of those. They must have put a lot of effort into making those Muppet heads for it to be a 5-second if that clip.
Yeah, for just that short.
Well, they
moment,
do that
yeah.
with everything, though. Like, you look at everything that they're using, it's all Muppet size, and it's on screen for 5 seconds, 6 seconds. So they're kind of used to that, I guess. You know, we need to make Zed heads for the Muppets. Okay.
And it's like it's like this 1 minute gag, and they're moving on. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the how he takes it off and he goes, "Hey, fresh air."
Why do I can't even wear this thing? You know.
What do I wear this for? Now, I always, I don't know, but I always figured Disney wouldn't have been very happy with Dead because of it's a very Mickey looking type character. So I was kind of shocked personally to see
That he was there.
him on a Disney production like this. Did anyone else feel that?
You know, I guess I didn't really think of it. I mean, if anything, I would have thought of it more as the fact that he does a lot of like remixes and such that Disney's copyright lawyers wouldn't be happy with.
Or his whatever.
That's
I think,
I don't know
but
who
I'm
he
sure
is.
he's a DJ that wears that big thing he had on. He DJs, and that's what he wears.
He wears that when he's like DJing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Why?
But I would
his whole
Well, that's what
thing.
he asked
That's
on the
his whole
show.
persona.
Oh.
But I would expect if there was any issues around him having a mouse-like head, that the legalities of that have been figured out for years and years and years, because he's been wearing it for a long time now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Cheech and Chong had an appearance, which is just hilarious.
It couldn't have been more
so
perfect.
fitting with their characters. I loved that. Where they're like, "Hey, you guys
They're
went
still
out for
hanging out in
pizza."
the space.
It could not have been more perfect. I loved it when they showed up.
Yeah.
Well, we
And I
got
love
distracted by the 80s.
And then Moog turns on the light and Cheech goes, "There's a light."
In the dark.
And even the reference to
Ziggy
Dave.
Marley.
So it's like it was all perfect.
It was.
Ziggy Marley and Kesha singing the Rockin' Robin song.
Yeah.
Very brief appearances, but still very, very good.
Yeah, all the different versions of Rockin' Robin, and I thought that was even kind of a fun touch. And they even mentioned, you know, kind of that it goes back to the original Muppet Show of them singing that on the show, and then doing these different variations of it. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that bit.
Yeah. And then, of course, Weird Al. Justin's in my idol.
That's awesome.
I've even met him in
again-
person.
Crazy surprising. This is Weird Al's first time ever working with the Muppets. He tweeted out, and he had a picture of himself on Wednesday, the day it came out, and he says, "I finally get to post this. I get to be actually when the trailer came out, he posted it. He says, I'm working with the Muppets, and he says, my first time ever working with them." And somebody responded saying, "I can't believe this is your first time working with the Muppets." And he actually replied saying, "I can't believe it either."
Yeah.
Like, you would think it would just be a natural fit for Weird Al to be with the Muppets.
You're right. That is weird.
Well, hence the name.
Weird Al.
And there you go.
Like, to think that even everything he's done, that like he's finally checked that off his bucket list, and it took him all this time.
Yeah, been on The Simpsons like 20 times already. So
Weird Al's
Well,
pretty awesome.
and he did the voice of Milo Murphy in Milo Murphy's Law, so he's worked with Disney before, and, you know, and he's done children's television. He's done all of these things that are such a perfect fit with the Muppets. That it is so surprising that this is the first time he's actually been with the Muppets themselves,
yeah. So each track ended in a cliffhanger.
especially the first one.
Literally, it ended in a cliffhanger with the bus hanging over the edge.
And they did their
And,
crack about Disney Plus. What will Disney Plus think of this?
Disney Plus
Disney
is
Plus
gonna
will
love
love
this.
Yeah. But then in good Disney style, Moot said, like, well, they do this all the time. That's why I have a hitch and a whatever on my Jeep or whatever, his van. Because again, you don't really think
Well,
it's weird. You just think it's a Muppets. Like, you don't think twice that, that could really not happen. Like, Cheech and Chong really didn't sit there for all those years. It's just that's the Muppets, and you just laugh and giggle and wait for the next wonky thing where they're hanging off a cliff.
Well, even the whole bit of like, well, no, we can't stop the van because then it won't start again. So we're just gonna do a slow and go. We'll slow and you go.
You expect me to jump out of a moving van? The second cliffhanger was when they're on the phone. They were on the hike and they get the phone call.
Oh, right. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The way that it
And
ends.
I can't believe it's him. And that's how the episode. Yeah. And they seem to, when they come back, they don't continue where the cliffhanger left off. In any, I haven't watched for 6.
That was just the cliffhanger. No,
they start. Do they start after that? They start everyone in the van, right? Like there's some sort of a different. It doesn't have anything to do with the episode. It's just like a couple minute clip of something silly happening in the van, I think.
Right, and then they kind of go on to the show, which doesn't end where they left the cliffhanger.
And again, perfect for the Muppets.
On track 3, it ended with Moog crashing through the floor in the shack. Is it called the shack?
Yeah, the shack. That's it.
The shack. Yep.
Yeah, and he goes, "You won't believe what's down here," and that's where they end it. So I don't know. The cliffhangers kind of got weaker as it
a little bit.
Yeah. And then in track 4, it ended with "There is no new stuff." I wrote down. I can't even remember what that was.
Because they were trying to come up with a new song, and they were like, "Okay, let's do the new thing."
Right.
Did you see at the in that episode, like when she finally decides she's got to listen to what they've done before? I think that's what. So Nora's putting she starts to look at all the videotapes. She's going to really get a deep dive and start to understand the mayhem. And the tapes are all, the VHS tapes are there. And the third one or the second one says the Muppets at Walt Disney World.
I missed that.
I didn't see
cool.
that.
That's a little Walt Disney World. And the funny thing is, I was thinking, I can't remember how much the mayhem is in that, or if they're, because she's watching all their concerts, and that one just says Muppets at, and then when she's reading them, when she's watching them, they show her putting each one in. So she did put that one into the VHS to watch too, but she was watching all of their history of where they've been. But
Animal would have been in that one for sure.
Mm-hmm. We have to watch
Disney
it.
World.
Yeah, he's probably chasing a woman around. That's my guess. That he's in that show, and he's chasing somebody around.
Yeah, they got to put that on Disney Plus. That's such a good show.
Do they have that on Disney Plus?
No, they have to.
Oh, they have to. I was supposed to say, what? Has it been on there and I haven't watched it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was on YouTube, and then it got removed. So I don't think it's even on YouTube anymore. I tried to find it about a year ago.
We have to get invited over to their hut or whatever. To their, what's it called?
Shack.
We can
watch it on.
We got to get an invite to the shack and watch it on the VHS.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk a little bit about our favorite scene. I hope you guys were prepared for this. I don't know. Your favorite scene or line or bit or sketch. Friends, you're looking befuddled. I'll start with you.
Well, you know what? No, because I can't remember the words of it. But honest to goodness, I think it kind of set the whole tone of the show for me when she was talking about how she liked to get, or they were talking about how she liked to be squeezed. And he said he was going to buy her the compression socks. Honest, like that set the whole thing up for me. It was the kind of humor that I was expecting. And it just landed so, like, I was watching it by myself, laughing out loud hysterically. Like I had to rewind it a little bit because I missed a part afterwards because I was laughing so hard. So for me, that kind of just set the whole thing up.
Yeah. How about you, Carrie?
I don't know. I've watched it lots already, and I can't probably decide. I can't decide.
It's hard.
It is hard. It is hard. I like. I think so far, I probably like. My favorite part is probably. I really like the fact that I like Animal all of a sudden. Like the fact that I'm struggling with that. The fact that all of a sudden I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm a big fan of Animal now. So I think like his origin story is my favorite part in the first 5 episodes. Like I like them, the marshmallow thing.
Teriyaki chef or whatever.
But yeah, like that episode where it's really focusing on his story, I think is my favorite one out of the first.
How about you, Justin?
As a fan of Weird Al, I think the Weird Al scene has got to be my favorite.
It should be.
No. This isn't Lion King.
Oh, that
was funny.
I have 8 songs. That's a lot.
Yeah, almost too many.
Maybe.
Yeah, like as a big fan, like seeing them with the Muppets must be like.
Oh,
Yeah,
it was absolutely perfect for him. The fact that he's almost parodying the Lion King scene while also complaining about how this is not Lion King was absolutely wonderful.
My favorite line, hands down, easy, was when they're riding in the van and they're singing "Oh Susanna" and "Jingle Bells" and all the different songs that they can
Ave
sing.
Maria.
And and then he says, "What should we sing next?" And Janice goes, "The Beatles." And someone says, "Was it Pink Floyd?" Floyd says, "Pink Floyd." And then
Hendrix.
they're
Well, we can certainly sing all of those for free in our van.
And Janice and Dr. Teeth look right into the camera, and his glasses raise up a little bit. Like, it's so good. Yeah, we could sing those for free, and surely we could sing those for free in our van by ourselves. Because it is such an inside joke, because that's what delayed the Muppet Show from being released on DVD and Blu-ray and on Disney Plus, was because of the music rights that they didn't own, and that's what took so long for them to release it.
Well,
so it is such a good inside joke.
Even now, I mean, there are bits that are not available. There are bits that have been cut out because of music rights that we still can't see.
Yeah. So that was my favorite. In fact, I was watching on my iPad, lying in bed. I started laughing. I had to woke my wife up. You gotta see this part. And I replayed it for her, and the next morning I showed it to my daughter. I said, "Look at this part."
She's like, "Yeah, Dad."
Well, and as someone who is like, I'm very passionate about copyright for various reasons, but yeah, that was one that was just, I totally get that.
That was perfect.
I laughed so hard. And then at the end of each episode, they had a little post-credit scene. I'm assuming everybody stuck around for the post-credit, and it was always Zoot with his camera, which I mean, they're just cute. They're little fun things.
Yeah, and it Disney Plus set it up proper, so you can fast forward to that and then just skip the credit.
Yeah, you can skip the credits and go straight to that.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I always sat through the credits.
Yeah, when the thing comes up on the credits, it says skip credits. It'll take
you right to that. Yeah.
It's something they started doing, I think, because of the Marvel movies.
Oh, really? See, I'm always afraid to skip the credits in case there's something I'm going to miss. So I've always watched.
So if you do skip credits on the Marvel movies, it takes you to the whatever next.
Does that work in the movie theater? Can I do that at Guardians of the Galaxy?
The best is when you're with your friends or whoever, and they're ready to leave, and you're like, "Can't leave." Sorry, you never know. You never know what's going to come up.
Yeah. You and two other people sitting in the theater still.
Well, and I've done that for movies that I didn't even know for sure if they were even going to have a post-credit scene, and I'm like,
well, yeah,
it's the kind of movie that could. So I'm like, I'm here until it's done.
Yeah, exactly. So the scene, so the little clips at the end with Zoot and his camera brings me to the intros when they had that kind of psychedelic introduction, and they have these different bits and pieces in the images, and some of the images you see during the episodes, and Zoot's camera is one of them. His Polaroid camera is like one of those psychedelic images that come up. Another one is Bean Bunny. Now, Carrie and Francine, you've seen the entire series. Justin and I haven't, so I'm just going to guess that we see Bean Bunny sometime back 6 to 10. Is my prediction. I'm not. You guys aren't allowed to predict because you already know. But Justin, that's my prediction. Do you predict?
I will stick a note in this, stick a pin in this, and take a note of it until next time when we find out if you are right or if you're just silly.
Who are the parents you think are, Justin?
I think they're the parents. What? I mean,
Episode 6 is awesome. To wrap up, and you guys watch it right now.
I'm gonna go watch it tonight. Watch the rest of them right after we're done recording here. This was fun, guys. Check out Pixie Dust Fan Podcast. Did I get that right?
You did.
Yes.
Okay. And Grand Circle Tour Podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. Any final thoughts? Are you guys coming back next week? Are we doing 6 to 10?
Oh, I can if you're doing 6 to 10, sure.
Gary?
I'm going to be away, so it depends on the time zone where I am.
Well, we can figure it out.
We can work around that. That's not a problem.
Yeah. We could do a Sunday afternoon or a Saturday night or whatever works for you. We'll I'd like to have you guys come back. That'd be great.
That's awesome.
I will definitely try to come back.
Right on. And hopefully we'll have another person then who was supposed to join us this week and couldn't make it the last minute. Sorry, I forgot to tell you.
That's
too.
okay.
You got us.
You got us. Hey.
And we were glad to
movie
have you.
insiders. If you're a movie insiders collector, and if you're not, why aren't you? You get free stuff from Disney. The code is LIGHT. LIGHT. Enter that on your movie insiders. You have until May 23rd, 2023 at 11:59 p.m. and you'll get bonus points by entering code LIGHT. So be sure to do that. Any final thoughts, guys?
I'm very excited that you invited us on to talk about
Me too. It was a lot of fun.
it. Was.
Right on.
Thank
This
you.
is awesome. This was glad you guys came out. Is there a Muppet ending I can give for Ken to take it away? Not really. I can't think of anything.
For sure.
Ken, take it away, man.
Take it away.
Just speak into the microphone there, Janice. Go ahead.
Wow, man, okay, if you have a totally awesome idea for a future podcast and want to have a spot in the guest host chair, then for sure, totally drop us an email at thesoloshow01@gmail.com.
Yeah, man, send us the vibe for your idea for the show, and then we'll come back at you with the date and time for you to come back and jam with us.
All right. And if you just want to commentate about the grooverificness of the show you just heard, then lay back and hang with us on the lusciousness of our Facebook page at The Solo Show. Hey, Ken, you want to take over for the voyeurific talk?
All logos, sounds, and songs that are made by and for Disney and its affiliates are owned solely by the Disney Corporation and are not, nor are they intended to be, the ownership of the Solo Show podcast.
Dulcet tones, baby, dulcet tones.
Well, thank you, Dr. Teeth. We hope you enjoyed the Solo Show. If you did, remember to like us on YouTube and give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, as it helps us grow the channel. Anything you'd like to add, Animal?
Thanks for listening. Bye for now. Bye-bye.